What if the most terrifying places on Earth aren't haunted houses, but the abandoned mental asylums where unspeakable things once happened? Tonight on KH Horror Stories, I'm bringing you 3 chilling mental asylum horror stories, disturbing encounters, whispered voices in empty corridors, and terrifying experiences that still haunt the people who lived through them. If you enjoy true-style horror narrations, creepy abandoned places, and late-night stories that keep you awake, subscribe to KH Horror Stories, because tonight's stories only get darker from here. Turn off the lights, put on your headphones, and prepare yourself. Let's begin. I work as a nurse on the post-surgical unit in the largest hospital in my city. People come from miles away for their surgeries here. The surgeons are known to be the best. But what we never tell the patients, what we aren't supposed to say, is that there are ghosts here. Just like any other hospital, people pass away, and some say their spirits linger. A fragment, maybe. Something science can't explain. There have been several moments that gave me chills, some that almost made me scream. But of course, I keep calm. A few months ago, a patient told me she felt like there were 3 other people in the wardroom with her. 3 beds, but no one there. She said they were whispering. I pulled back the curtains. Empty beds, no visitors, no staff. A few weeks later, another patient said the same thing. Same whispers, same empty room. I felt a chill, but reassured her it was just imagination. Patients have enough to worry about. Meds, recovery, discharge. No need for ghost stories. But we keep these things to ourselves. Other nurses won't even sleep in the storage room. They say they have terrible dreams, feeling watched. I didn't believe it until I slept there on a night shift. I had the most vivid, waking dream. I thought I was awake, but something was in the corner, watching me. When I reached for the light, it wouldn't work. The door wouldn't open, and I was frozen, forced to watch this dark shape creep closer, until I woke up and left, never returning. Then, last week, a nurse told me something that's been on my mind. She was resting in the staff room. 2 small couches, a TV, and a bright light woke her. She looked toward the door, that little glass window, and saw a woman staring in. Old-fashioned hair, a nurse's cap, blue pinstripe scrubs, just like the ones on display in the lobby. I got chills. Another nurse walked in, scoffed. He didn't believe it. But she kept saying that woman wasn't a dream. It was an old nurse who died after a long shift, fell asleep at the wheel. And ever since, when she starts to nod off, she sees her, wide awake again, like a jolt stronger than coffee. And then something clicked. I remembered my patient in room 14 who said last night she saw a woman peeking in, standing in the doorway. Old hair, old scrubs. She thought it was the Dilaudid, so I stopped it, just Tylenol. But I couldn't shake the other nurse's story. I went to check on her, and when I walked down that hall, I swear I saw her again, standing by the door. I ran after her, down the corridor, but in a flash, she was gone, like smoke. My heart was racing, but I forced myself to believe it was just a trick. Until I reached room 9, and all the patients were awake. It was freezing. The woman was gone. But they kept saying something was lying beside them, pressing down. That's the room where it all started, and I haven't seen her since. But every night shift I wait, not to see her again. True, personal, abandoned asylum horror story. This happened during the winter a few years back, when me and some friends decided to explore an abandoned insane asylum just outside a small town in Pennsylvania. I'm changing everyone's names for obvious reasons, so I'll call them Ethan, Mark, and Tyler. The place had been abandoned for decades and was kind of infamous around the area. People said weird stuff happened there at night, but we had done urban exploration for a while and honestly thought it was all just local ghost stories trying to scare people off.
We decided to go late at night so security wouldn't catch us. Driving up to the property, the place looked straight out of a nightmare. Vines had completely swallowed parts of the building. Windows were busted out everywhere, and parts of the walls were covered in graffiti. It looked less like a hospital and more like something nature was trying to erase. Ethan parked behind some overgrown brush near the tree line, so the car couldn't be seen from the road. From there, we walked across the frozen grass toward the main patient housing and treatment building. In the moonlight, you could still make out the old early 1900s architecture. Even ruined, the place had this eerie beauty to it. We climbed under the rusted fence and made our way to one of the side entrances. After putting on respirators because of all the mold and dust, we forced open this old chipped paint door and stepped inside. Right in front of us was a huge staircase leading upward through the center of the building. We climbed to the first landing and realized the stairwell kept going all the way up, 4 floors. The first floor looked like old dormitories. Since the building was massive, I suggested splitting up into pairs so we could cover more ground. Me and Mark, being the youngest, took the second floor. Ethan and Tyler stayed on the first. We wished each other luck and headed off. Using only our phone flashlights, me and Mark reached this heavy, rusted door with faded letters that read, "Patient Treatment and Offices." Somehow, it wasn't locked. Inside was a maze of long, dark hallways branching in every direction. The air felt colder up there. Every room we checked had old hydrotherapy tubs, broken wheelchairs, rusted medical cabinets. It honestly felt like we'd hit the jackpot for exploring. Then, while we were walking down one of the halls, I felt something brush right past my ear. Like someone leaned in close and whispered. I spun around so fast I nearly dropped my phone. Mark was standing 10 feet behind me, staring. "What?" he asked. I laughed nervously and said, "Dude, don't do that." His face changed instantly. He said, "Do what?" Before I could answer, Mark suddenly turned toward the hallway behind him and snapped, "Knock it off, Tyler!" I asked what he was talking about. He looked pale and said somebody had just whispered directly into his ear, too. At first, we thought Ethan and Tyler had somehow come upstairs to mess with us. So we yelled down the hall for them to quit screwing around. No answer. Then we heard footsteps downstairs, loud enough to echo up through the floor beneath us. We figured it had to be them. At the exact same time, my phone buzzed with a text from Ethan. It said, "Bro, if you're whispering down through the vents, cut it out. Tyler's freaking out." My stomach dropped. I texted back immediately, saying we thought they were the ones messing with us. No response. Then every single door down the hallway slammed shut. Not one at a time, all at once. The sound was so loud, it felt like the whole floor shook. That was the moment we knew something was seriously wrong. Then came the whispering again. Only now it wasn't near one of us. It was everywhere. Coming from behind every door, inside the walls, at the end of the hall, all around us. It sounded like dozens of people whispering at once. Too quiet to understand, but loud enough to know it was real. Mark grabbed my arm and said we needed to leave right now. We turned to run back toward the stairwell and saw 3 figures standing at the far end of the hallway, completely still, too dark to make out faces, just tall black silhouettes standing shoulder to shoulder. Neither of us moved. Then one of them took a step forward. That snapped us out of it. We ran. As soon as we did, the footsteps started behind us. Heavy, pounding footsteps. Fast. Multiple people. We tore through the hallways, barely knowing where we were going. My flashlight was shaking so bad I could barely keep it pointed straight. We finally saw the glowing fire exit sign and sprinted for it. We hit the stairwell so fast we basically fell down half the stairs trying to get out. When we burst through the main doors and ran across the field toward the car, Ethan and Tyler were already inside screaming for us to hurry up. We jumped in and Ethan peeled out before the doors were even shut. Nobody said anything for like a full minute. Then Tyler finally asked if we were the ones whispering through the vents upstairs. Me and Mark just stared at them. Apparently, while they were downstairs, both of them had heard whispering near their ears too. Ethan thought Mark was somehow messing with him from above. Tyler thought maybe we'd found another staircase and were sneaking around trying to scare them. Then they heard footsteps overhead and assumed it was us running around. But neither group had been near the other. Meaning, whatever we heard, whatever whispered in our ears, whatever was standing in that hallway, was never one of us. That was the first and last time I ever stepped foot in that asylum. And I'm telling you right now, some places are abandoned for a reason. My terrifying encounter in an abandoned asylum in Pennsylvania. I still have trouble talking about what happened that night. Even now, years later, I wake up in the middle of the night hearing the same whispers in my head. People can call me crazy if they want, but I know what I saw inside that abandoned asylum in rural Pennsylvania. It started when me and 4 friends decided to check out the place after hearing local rumors about it. Everybody in town said the old asylum had been shut down after some kind of illegal experiments were discovered there back in the 1970s. Most people thought it was just another urban legend, but we were bored, stupid, and wanted to prove everyone wrong. The building sat on top of a hill outside town, surrounded by dead trees and rusted fencing. Even standing outside, it felt wrong. The windows were shattered, parts of the roof had collapsed, and the whole place looked like it was rotting from the inside out. One of my friends joked that we should turn back, but none of us wanted to look scared. We climbed through a broken side entrance and stepped inside. The smell hit us first. Mold, rot, and something else I can't really describe. Something metallic almost, like old blood maybe. Our flashlight beams barely cut through the darkness. Every hallway looked the same. Long, narrow, stained walls covered in peeling paint and old graffiti. As we walked deeper inside, every little sound made me jump. Water dripping somewhere far off. Floorboards creaking under our feet. Metal doors swinging slightly in the distance, even though there was no wind. Then, we found the patient wing. Most of the doors were hanging open, and inside the rooms were rusted bed frames, broken wheelchairs, restraints still bolted to some of the walls. That was when things stopped feeling like a joke. One of my friends found old medical files scattered across the floor, but the papers were too damaged to read. Then, from somewhere farther down the hall, we heard it. Whispering. At first, it sounded like maybe wind moving through the building, but there was no mistaking it after a few seconds. It sounded like multiple voices whispering all at once from somewhere in the dark ahead of us. We froze. The whispers got louder. Then, I noticed the shadows at the far end of the hallway didn't look right. They were moving. Not because of our flashlights, moving on their own, stretching along the walls and floor like they were crawling toward us. At first, it sounded like maybe wind moving through the building, but there was no mistaking it after a few seconds. It sounded like multiple voices whispering all at once from somewhere in the dark ahead of us. We froze. The whispers got louder. Then, I noticed the shadows at the far end of the hallway didn't look right. They were moving. Not because of our flashlights, moving on their own, stretching along the walls and floor like they were crawling toward us. My friend grabbed my arm and said we needed to leave, but for some reason, none of us moved. We were terrified, yeah, but also kind of hypnotized, like whatever was down there wanted us to come closer. And stupidly, we did. Step by step, we followed the whispers down the hall until we reached a half-open metal door leading into what looked like some kind of treatment room. The whispers stopped the second we stepped inside. In the center of the room sat a rusted hospital bed with leather restraints hanging from the sides. Beside it was a desk overturned on its side, papers scattered everywhere. On the bed frame was a black leather diary covered in dust. I picked it up. Inside were handwritten entries from what seemed to be a patient. The writing was shaky and frantic, getting messier with every page. It talked about doctors performing experiments on patients in secret, injecting them with unknown chemicals, locking them in dark rooms for days, trying to remove evil from the mind. One entry just repeated the same sentence over and over. The shadows move when the light dies. The moment I read that out loud, the room went freezing cold, like instantly. Our breath came out in white clouds. Then, from behind us, came a scream. Not human, not even close. It was this high-pitched shriek mixed with something deeper underneath, like multiple voices screaming together. My friend dropped his flashlight and it rolled across the floor. Then every flashlight started flickering. The shadows in the corners of the room started moving again, only faster now. They stretched up the walls and across the ceiling like black smoke, reaching toward us. I swear I saw shapes inside them. Hands, faces, mouths opening and closing. Everyone panicked. We ran for the door, shoving each other, trying to get out. One of my friends fell and started screaming that something grabbed his leg. We turned and saw one of the shadows wrapped around his ankle like smoke. It let go the second one of us yanked him free. We sprinted through the hallways blindly, barely able to see as our flashlights died one by one. Behind us, the screaming and whispers followed, echoing through every corridor. I don't even remember finding the exit. I just remember bursting through the front doors into the cold night air and running until the asylum was out of sight. None of us spoke the whole drive home. We never went back. What messes with me most is what happened the next day. When I opened my jacket pocket, the diary was inside. I know for a fact I dropped it in that room. I threw it away immediately. Burned it, actually. But sometimes, late at night, when my room is completely dark, I still hear whispering in the corners. And every now and then, I swear the shadows move when the lights go out. If you made it to the end, thank you for watching. Which of tonight's stories disturbed you the most? Let me know in the comments below. I read every one. And if you enjoy true horror narrations, abandoned asylum stories, and disturbing encounters from the dark corners of the internet, be sure to subscribe to KhHorrorstories for more videos every week. Until next time, keep the lights on. Good night.